couple of weeks ago, I switched to the MX Master 3 from Logitech. I've been using a pretty cheap mouse so far for all of my productivity, but I finally pulled the trigger and got something that is a little bit more expensive and can do a lot more. But was it worth the switch, and is this mouse still worth its price tag almost 2 years after it's been released? Hey, I'm Brian, and let's find that out. Let's maybe start with the design of this mouse. I think it looks really nice, but I would have really preferred if it would have also been available in a white color. This gray does look nice, but it also would have fit better with my white keyboard if you also had a white exterior. That was available on the MX Master 2S, so I'm not quite sure why they didn't make that available again for the MX Master 3. The mouse is generally pretty well built. I think that the soft touch finish, especially here on the palm rest, is pretty premium, but there's a little bit too much plastic on the other parts of the mouse for my liking. Especially also with the seams on the silver parts of the mouse, it doesn't really look that premium and not really suited to the price tag of the mouse. I think that some more aluminium elements would have really been a nice touch here. The scroll wheels are fortunately made from metal, both the main one and also the secondary one, so they do feel pretty nice and they're also cold to the touch, which does give a bit more of a premium touch to the mouse. But again, it would have also been nice if some elements like this one back here would have also been made from metal. The buttons are pretty nice and clicky. That goes for both the mouse buttons up front that are your main interaction with the mouse, as well as the two thumb buttons you have here on the side. Unfortunately, this button down here that allows you to use the gestures that the mouse comes with is pretty mushy and doesn't feel premium at all. It's also not that easy to hit with your thumb because it's not that tactile. That could have definitely been executed better. And I would have also expected that on a mouse that is this expensive. If you're coming from one of those standard €30 mice, then this is definitely going to be a big mouse for you. It's more of an in-between of a palm and a claw grip for me because I have very large hands, but I actually think it's very comfortable. If you have more normal size hands, then you're probably going to be very fine with the palm grip, but you can also claw grip it if you have even bigger hands than I do. For me, all of the buttons are very reachable even without any hand gymnastics. Of course, one of the main events of this mouse is the new and advanced scroll wheel. This is a magnetic scroll wheel that's a bit different from your standard mouse, and it has two states, one that clicks like it used to from a normal standard cheaper mouse, and one that is free-flowing so you can scroll through larger documents easier and faster. Because it's magnetic and not actually mechanical, the clicking in the standard mode is a bit more subtle than in your normal mouse, but it really doesn't feel too different and you will get used to that pretty quickly. The free-flowing mode can either be activated all the time by just pressing the button above the mouse wheel, or you can also have it activate automatically by just scrolling faster, and then it will switch automatically from the clicky mode into the free-flowing mode. I usually use the always-on free-flowing mode when I'm scrolling through large documents and working on those, and when I'm just doing normal productivity stuff, I usually use the automatic mode. And you don't have to be afraid of it switching too easily either, it won't really happen by accident. The second thumb wheel is also a really nice addition to this mouse and does enable some really cool functionality in some apps, especially for productivity. And it works in conjunction with Logitech's option software, so you can really configure it to your liking. The software comes with some predefined profiles for various different apps like Photoshop or Premiere or Google Chrome, and you can also make your own profiles to really customize it to your liking. For example, what you can do is you can hold down this button and then enable gestures to, for example, switch between desktops on the normal Windows side. Or you can also have it configured per app, so for example in Premiere you can scroll through the timeline with this wheel on the side, or in Photoshop it can adjust your brush size, or in Chrome you can use it for the browser zoom. And then of course all of the other buttons can be configured too. You can for example go back and forth for Ctrl Z and Ctrl Y in your app with these buttons, or in the browser you can go forward one page or backward one page. If you hold down buttons, you can also enable various layers of functionality. In Photoshop, for example, if you hold down on the mouse wheel and then move the mouse, you can pan through the document instead of just moving the mouse cursor around. I think all of these enable you to get really creative with the functionality of this mouse and really do save a lot of time if you use all of the features properly. And all of the pre-configured profiles for various different apps also make it easier for you to not have to do everything on your own. But still, you can customize it if your app isn't in there or if you want to change certain functions. The tracking of the mouse is also really good. The sensor didn't change from the previous iterations, so it's still fine, but it's not a gaming mouse. And if you want to use it for FPS gaming or something like that, then this is really not your best option. Also for other games, all of the buttons are not really suited for gaming. You don't really have a lot of normal macro buttons for functions like that, but instead all of these things like the scroll wheel and the different gestures are more suited for productivity than for gaming. The battery life on this mouse is pretty stellar. I took it out of the box with only about 30% charge, and now only a couple of weeks later I had to first charge it. So you can probably use it for a couple of months before you will recharge the battery. What is also nice is that it does have a USB Type-C port, so you can charge it with your normal phone charger cable and you don't have to use one of those old pesky micro USB ports anymore. So it's pretty nice to be able to use the same cable for my keyboard and my mouse, for example. And of course, you can also use it while it's charging as a normal wired mouse. The mouse connects to your PC either via Bluetooth or via the included dongle, and you can also select up to 3 Bluetooth devices and switch between those with the button at the bottom. And if you turn the mouse over, it also shows you to which device it is connected with the number on the bottom, and the connection is also pretty reliable. I didn't really have any problems with that so far. So now the important question, was it really worth upgrading to this mouse? Because it is really expensive still, it's about 80-90 euros, and that is definitely a lot more than the mouse that I used to use so far, which was only about a 30 euro mouse. But I think that the upgrade was definitely worth it. It really is a night and day difference if you're coming from a cheaper mouse. Probably a lot of you out there are still using one of those cheaper options, and with this you get a lot more functionality with all of the different buttons, the second thumb wheel, it's a lot more premium, and you also get a way better shape for your hand. I can't stress enough how much more comfortable Logitech's MX series is than just those cheaper claw grip mice. So if you're really sitting in front of your computer a lot and using it for productivity where you can use different functions like gestures, zoom functions and stuff like this, then I think that this mouse is definitely worth it and also worth the money over cheaper options. But it's not for gaming, that's something that you have to know. It's too heavy and it also doesn't really have the right button placing for that. And I also think that the construction of the mouse could have really been a lot more premium for this price. But apart from that, it's definitely something that you can give a shot, and from my side, there are really no reservations. If you've so far always been eyeing this mouse but weren't really sure if it's really worth the price tag, then I think you can definitely give it a try. And of course, if you do want to do that, do it through the link in the video description, because that does support me in the process. If you enjoyed this video, you know which buttons to press. Don't forget to press that follow button on Twitter, and don't forget your mask if you have to leave the house. I'm Brian, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.